one key takeaway for the audience today
Yeah.
before we leave?
Think about the culture of your organization almost like a research project.
Mhm.
And then think about how you want to influence it and where you can inject yourself into the existing culture. It's not hard. When we first had our first conversation, you were like, I'm not sure you can really influence culture that much. And I was like, no.
No, you have definitely had me
Yeah.
converted
Yeah. Yeah.
there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Tira. This was a conversation jam-packed, full of good, excellent, practical advice.
Yeah. Right. I also feel like a really easy sort of litmus test is if you see data science in any kind of doc, there's
Mhm.
probably an opportunity then, if not already, that research should be in that doc, in that process, and it should be in tandem. So understanding, here's what users will feel, think, what they're, what's going on, the whys, and then
Mhm.
here's the impact we expect to see as a result. They should be, lockstep, triangulated together. We had a lot of planning initiatives in all of the companies that I've worked for, and um, oftentimes the plans forget about the user experience.
Mhm.
And so if there are ways that, even if it's just like, we're going to add a paragraph to a strategy doc that takes the research that we already have, the insights we already have about, here are our top problems, or here are our top unmet needs, or here's where we think things are going to go in the future with the resources. That's a start. That's a win. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's really just about taking the insights that we have, understanding the company strategy, and finding that intersection between the two, and really
Mhm.
showcasing those, bringing those to the docs, the processes that are already happening. Um, I
So
also,
step one is get access to those docs, get access to those strategy.
yeah, and comment the heck out of them if that's okay in your culture. I have some experience where we've injected research into the employee onboarding and set it as an expectation of, it is an expectation that you do connect with customers, and it's an expectation that you understand the user experience. These are the people that you can come to. They have an open door. And also, we've even done some creative things. Like when I was at Redfin, I made a board game that was kind of like, it was like a cross between, it was like uh, the game of life mixed with like
Mhm.
Settlers of Catan. So it was like, here's a day in the life of
Right.
a real estate agent, here's a day in the life of a buyer or a seller.
Mhm.
But then here's all the different challenges that you have along the way, and you only have limited resources, limited time, limited money. And so it ended up becoming something that they brought to the employee onboarding as a way to just
Mhm.
like have fun, but also build empathy and get people to really understand the user experiences more deeply.
Mhm.
And so, like there's so many different ways that we can inject the research into those existing processes where people are like, this is essential. I would not, if it weren't for that insight, if it weren't for that, data point, I would be thinking about things differently. And people really suddenly realize like, I am better with it than without it. And it becomes critical. It depends on the culture of the team and how um, what that organization really relies on for communication. When I worked at Microsoft, at that time, email was the primary form to communicate. And we found that there was this perception that research was more focused on the tactical and the evaluative side of things. And yet everyone in our organization had such great insights related to company strategy and company initiatives that just weren't
Mhm.
being disseminated. And so we created, we set aside time. You have to set aside time for something if it's important. We set aside time to come together as a team, triangulate all of our insights about strategic initiatives, and started creating like a drip campaign of um, emails that would go out twice a week about higher level questions. And they became really popular and it became a thing. And it changed the perception of the research org at the same time. So people became more knowledgeable, win-win, and they realized, hey, this team has a lot of insights that can help us create the right plans and the right strategies. I've worked on other teams where really it's about just injecting yourself into the right Slack channels and,
Mhm.
dropping video clips in. There's just so many different ways to disseminate your work, and you really have to think about what's going to land with your audience and who is that audience. Um,
Mhm.
it could be a full-time job, just sharing the knowledge. Um,
Mhm.
but whatever lands well with your organization is the thing you got to just keep sticking with.
Yeah. Drip campaigns are, a great example of how things, one of the great things that I don't think enough research teams leverage. I think we actually saw a bunch of our customers sending like newsletters on those drip campaigns, and we actually built it into Marvin because like, oh, this is something so cool. So take advantage of that. If you're a Marvin user, take advantage of that. If you're not Marvin user, please send out newsletters and drip campaigns. I think they're fantastic.
There's pros and cons to any organizational structure. And if you're aligned a certain way, that thing is easier. If you're not aligned that way, you just have to put extra effort into to make it happen. And that's true also for just like, who do you report into? Who are you
Mhm.
structured with? Organizationally, it just takes extra effort to do that thing. So if as
Mhm.
an organization, your biggest problem are some of those outcomes like retention or adoption, then organizing around that way is the right thing to do. If your biggest challenge or your most important goal is to have a seamless end-to-end experience, then you should organize that way. The way you
Mhm.
organize is going to impact how easy it is to get that job done.